Hey, all you weird, beautiful Homo sapiens.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Sense podcast, where we dive into crazy stories and conspiracies and try to make sense of all the bullshit.
Yes.
This is episode number 3.
Number 3. Can't believe we made it this far.
I know. Thank you guys. If you're back, thank you for being here.
Yeah. Today we are covering the very tragic case of Hannah Wesche, 3-year-old, who died at the hands of her babysitter.
Yes. It is absolutely heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being very obsessed with this case whenever it was going on in 2019 and just completely disgusted.
Yeah, because all I thought about was our child.
I know. It's like you really can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't. Even
Especially
someone who literally that lives next door to you, you cannot trust anyone.
Yeah, this is a truly heartbreaking case. We're going to get into that shortly.
Mm-hmm.
But first, I just want to remind everybody that if you would like to watch this episode instead of just listen, you can do so on our YouTube channel. It's linked in the show notes. Especially for today's case, we're going to have a lot of video and a lot of photos that we're going to put up on the screen to help tell a story. So if that's something you're into, go check out our YouTube channel and you can definitely watch this episode.
Should we get into our events of the week now?
Events of the week. Should I sing it every time?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're showing off.
I'm not showing off.
I'd show off that voice if I had it.
That's just a part of who I am. I like to sing anything I can. So who wants to go first this week?
I will let you go first.
Okay. So my event of the week is toxic masculinity. It drives me crazy. Crazy. And you cannot escape it if you live somewhere like Louisiana. Because it's everywhere.
It's literally everywhere.
It's praised here. It's expected here. It's bullshit. As a kid growing up, I was always surrounded by women. My mom, my grandparent, my grandma, my aunt, my sisters. I was always around women. And so I picked up on a lot of their traits and like the way that they speak and the way that they act. And so I always was different, quotation marks, than other boys as a kid. And I got picked on. I got bullied ever since 6th grade. I was bullied for not acting like every other boy in the school.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't know anything about hunting or fishing or guns or anything like that, because at the beginning of my life, my mom and my dad were divorced. And there was a period of time where I was living with my mom and we were in a completely different state than my dad was. So there was a while where I really wasn't around my dad a whole lot.
Yeah.
But even if I would have been around my dad a whole lot, he was never raised to hunt and fish and stuff either.
Yeah.
So I was never around it growing up. And so I knew nothing about it. And so I always stood out to people around here because that wasn't what I did.
Yeah. When those topics came up, you had nothing to add to the conversation.
I was not accepted. And that just only progressed as I got older. And it just only got worse.
And you know what? I feel like it has taken you until really the past year or a couple years to find yourself.
It really has, because all of that bullying, when you think about going from 6th grade to your senior year of high school and the bullying never stopped, that really took a huge toll on me. And it took a really huge toll on my self-esteem, my confidence, and who I thought I was. And I was always trying to pretend to be somebody that I wasn't, because I felt like that's what I needed to do in order to fit in. And that took a huge toll on me. And you're right. Like it took me until probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, before I started realizing I don't have to do that though.
Yeah.
I don't have to be that person in order to be a good father, in order to be a good husband. That's not what defines a man.
Yeah.
Is what he does in his free time.
Yeah, and the people that
or the way that he talks, or the way that he acts, or the things that he believes in and doesn't believe in. That's not what should define a man as a man. So my biggest thing right now is that I want people to know that just because I don't hunt and fish does not mean that I'm not able to please you. It does not mean that I'm not able to take care of you or my kid.
But you know what? If you have to tell people that, are they really your people anyway? No, they're not. You should not have to explain yourself.
I shouldn't have to, and that's why I hate it so much, because that's what makes it so toxic.
Yeah.
Is that you have to explain it to some people.
I agree.
And they still probably won't understand.
Yeah.
But I just my biggest message with the whole toxic masculinity thing is that there are not certain things that define a man as a man. And I'm really just fucking over being picked apart as a man because I'm not doing the same things that other men are doing.
Yeah. When you don't fit in as an adult, because this happens to me, it takes you back to those times where you didn't fit in as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the shittiest feeling.
It is the shittiest
to
feeling.
be like, okay, because you always thought whenever you're a kid, it'll be different when I grow up. Well, guess what? It's not any different.
And I was very unhappy for many years because I was pushing who I truly was down and what I truly wanted to express down to try to please other people because I felt like that was the only thing that I could do in order to be accepted.
Yeah.
But then I got to the point where I realized I'm going to impact more people and I'm going to be happier expressing who I am and talking however way I want to. It's like no matter where I go, I have to deal with it.
I know.
No matter what I do.
I just say, like, try to, I mean, I know you can't help it on the internet, but in your daily life, try to surround yourself with people who accept you for you.
I do. So yeah, that's my event of the week.
I don't know if I'll be able to top that one.
Oh, whatever.
Okay, so my event of the week is kind of like stemming from your event of the week last week where you vented about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Like being upset with myself over something? Okay.
So I feel like I'm going to play off of that.
All right.
Because it just kind of like made me think about this part that I hate about myself. And it, like, you obviously know that, like, I've been hurt by so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever someone tries to get close to me, I immediately just, like, put up the stop sign.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to go any further with this relationship. Like, I like you. Like, there are a lot of people that I like in our life that I don't want to proceed with because I'm scared of getting hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a trauma response to put those walls up.
Yeah. So I hate that about myself, that I can't just be a little bit more open. And by venting this, I'm not promising that I will be any more open. I'm just stating the fact that I hate that about myself. And I know the only reason that I am that way is because I've been hurt so many times. And I wish that wouldn't have been my past. But the reality is, it is.
Yeah.
And now I'm just trying to figure out how to move past that. And I don't know if it is like making myself open up to certain people who I feel like have no malicious intent towards me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is what it's going to take, but it's hard.
But it's hard.
It's very hard to do that. I kind of go through that too.
I'm like, what if they're acting fake to me, but then like they're talking shit behind my back because that's what people have done.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I feel like I literally feel like I cannot trust anyone but you.
Well, honestly, I'm going to say you really can't.
I know.
You really can't trust anybody. You
That
just can't.
sucks.
And that's just the reality of life today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the reality of what so many people have shown you time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say exactly what you would need to do or I would need to do because I feel like I'm the same. I have walls that I put up too.
Yeah.
For reasons. I can't say exactly what we would need to do, but
I wish that wasn't our reality. Like, I envy the people who...
I think it's just going to take time, especially right now, because we got to this point just this past year where we realized what our self-worth was.
Yeah.
And so we did put up a lot of walls with people that deserved it.
Yeah.
People that needed these boundaries, and you know, it was up to them whether or not they could respect those boundaries or not.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, most of them, showed us
not.
that they couldn't respect
Yeah.
it, and they tried to gaslight us into believing that we're the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever all we're trying to do is tell them that we need the respect from them that we have for ourselves, and if they can't give you that, then they're not worth being in your life. And so I think right now it's really going to take some time because we just kind of cut a lot of the cancer out of our lives.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to like start trying to find people or allowing certain people to come in.
Yeah. And I think like the thing about us that is like a toxic trait, if we have a toxic trait, it's that
everybody has toxic traits.
But like if we as a couple have a toxic trait, it is that we're almost too good together. to where we feel like we don't need anyone else because we're too good together.
I know.
So, but
it's true though.
I mean, it is true, but then I don't know.
There's certain times and there's certain situations where
there's certain times where it's like, you don't want to hear about the newest makeup product that came out.
Yeah, like,
but I don't have anyone else to tell that to.
But for the most part, probably 98% of everything in our life, we are perfectly fine and content just doing together.
Yeah.
And with our kid.
Yeah. But I also feel like people have fucked me over. And if you are wondering whenever you're speaking to me, because there are a lot of people, for whatever fucking reason, there are a lot of people that like us.
I know.
You know? And like, we don't want to come off as we're assholes. We've just been hurt so many times that we have to put ourselves into a little box just to protect ourselves right now until we are okay to flutter out of that box. Mm-hmm. That's my event of the week.
Well, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Actually. Okay, so I think we actually had a few submissions this week, right? People sending us their vents. Should we read one of them?
Yes. Okay.
Right,
this is their vent, which is actually kind of funny because I feel like we have opposite views on this. So this should be good. Why do people have the need to post everything about their life on social media? Why do they need so much attention? So I feel like, I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like, why are you fucking posting what you ate for lunch?
Yeah.
No one cares. When you go to the bathroom. Oh, I'm going to walk my dog. No one fucking cares.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely, that can get annoying. Mm-hmm. And especially I feel like if you know the person that's doing it personally, and like that they're always like that.
Yeah.
They're always seeking attention. And then you have to see that all the time. It drives that kind of shit.
It's overwhelming. And I'm like, but then like I try to be a nice person and I'm like, well, maybe they're lacking something in their life. But I'm like, yeah. But then I'm like, but really though, like, do you have to fucking sit there and post like every little hour?
See, I think there's like a line, right?
Yeah.
Because that is kind of the age we're in today where you share, like I share a lot online, kind of stuff that I'm doing, but I think there's a line.
Yeah.
Where,
I feel like there's definitely...
You don't need to share everything.
Yeah. I'm just letting you know, like, if I got notifications that you shared what you were having for lunch and then you're going to pee and then you're going to take a shower and then you're going to go walk the dog.
Just fucking record, live stream the whole thing and let us just see it all.
Yeah.
Right? Just bring us in there while you have to take your little shit. Yeah. That's a lot.
I'm sorry if you're like that, but I'm just telling you, I think it's fucking weird.
It's overwhelming to see it all the time. Yeah. I'm very quick.
And it might just be because I'm an introvert and I'm like, my God, I cannot imagine sharing that much of my life with someone else.
Mm-hmm. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So guys, if y'all want to send in y'all's events of the week, check the show notes. There's a form down there. You guys can let us know what y'all want to bitch about and we'll talk about it. All right, so should we get into today's story?
Yes.
All right, so just a little content warning for you guys. This story has themes of child abuse and drug abuse, so if that's something that might trigger you, we completely understand if you guys don't want to listen to this episode. We'll see you in a future episode.
Yeah. And sources used for this are listed in the show notes. Today's story is about Hannah Wesche. She was born on January 11th, 2015 in Louisville, Kentucky. She was born to a mother addicted to heroin and remained in the NICU unit for 92 days. Can you imagine your kid being... That's crazy.
That's
92 days?
That's a long time.
That's 3 months.
That's a long time to not be able to hold your baby.
Mm-hmm. While Hannah stayed in the hospital, her dad, Jason, visited her multiple times a week until he brought her home after 3 months. And I'm not going to go right off the bat and say, like, her mom was a piece of shit. But she was. I hate that. That's why Hannah had to stay in NICU for 3 months because her mom was addicted to heroin.
Mm-hmm. And so Hannah was born addicted to heroin.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
That's shitty. At this time, of course, he was awarded full custody because Hannah's mother was in a rehab facility for drug use. Then Jason kind of fell on a hardship and he lost his job after 2 years and struggled to support Hannah, but he did his best. He would take Hannah to his brother's house where he would sleep outside while she slept inside, which I don't get that, because you can't tell me that he couldn't have slept on the floor. I mean, I could not find a source that went into detail of why he had to sleep outside.
Why he couldn't sleep in the house too.
Yeah. I feel like that's fucked up. But I mean, like I said, we don't know all the details of that, but they were essentially homeless. I mean, he was just doing the very best that he could at the time, and he was making accommodations for his daughter.
Yeah.
Things started to look up for Jason, and he found a construction job in Hanover Township, Ohio, where he and his daughter relocated, moving into a home at 4004 Shank Road in Butler County.
Well, that's good. That makes me happy that he kind of got a fresh start. Because, I mean...
Well, and like that had to make him so proud that he was able to support his daughter after, because if you think about it, can you imagine not physically sleeping in the same house as your child at night? That's
very sad. And it sounds like Hannah's life started pretty rough.
And then it just like kind of...
It took a while for that to get better. So it's really good that he was able to kind of stick to what he knew he needed to do.
Yeah, because that's very hard to... not fall even further down.
It is, yeah.
You know? At his new job, Jason expressed that he was having a really hard time finding someone that he could trust to babysit his daughter because...
Yeah, that's hard.
I researched so many daycares.
Yeah.
I would go and find their ratings and...
And it took a while, once we even put her in this daycare, it took a while for us to fully, I feel like, trust them.
Yeah, and we were very fortunate. She had an amazing daycare. But you just see so many stories.
You do, and like we've always been true crime obsessed.
Yeah.
And
so
we
the
have
worst
seen so
thing,
many the worst case scenario, because we've seen so much about, even at daycares, like just caretakers of your children
abusing them,
and you just never know.
Yeah. A coworker who was also the owner's son of the company which he worked at informed Jason that his wife, Lindsay Partin, could watch Hannah while Jason worked. It gets even better because she literally lived next door to Jason and Hannah.
Right next door.
Yeah.
Literally the house next to
Literally
his house.
right next door.
Yeah.
And she had 2 daughters of her own, and she also babysat another kid. Okay, so automatically you're like, oh.
Yeah, it sounds it sounds like, even though you're new to this area and you're new to even meeting this coworker, from the looks of it, it feels like you can maybe trust this person.
Yeah, because you probably literally don't know anyone else.
And how much more convenient can that be that she lives right next door?
Yeah. And then on top of that, only $30 a day.
Which is insane.
Like we all know how expensive daycare is.
It really looked like things were really starting to look up.
And then
his
like
luck was turning around. And
and then there's just so many perks to that, because on rainy days he would be able to stay home because he worked construction. Yeah. So on rainy days, he didn't work. And then, with normal daycare, if you keep your kid home during the week, they still charge you that day.
But he was able to not have to pay.
Yeah. So it was just a win-win situation in his eyes. So everything seemed great until Jason found some bruising on Hannah. That was not normal.
I think he started noticing that there was more bruises than normal.
Yeah.
He knows his kid, and he knew...
They fall down like...
Yeah, but he knew obviously something was telling him that she had too much bruising.
With our kid, like, she literally falls all the time, especially before she could speak. She had so many bruises and bug bites on her.
She would just be standing there, not moving, and fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure people were thinking, like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. People probably thought we were abusing her, but everybody that has kids knows that it's just part of it.
Specifically, though, which this is a little odd, because most children that do that have bruises on like their legs or their arm, but Jason noticed bruises on her chest, eyes, and under her chin.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Especially under the chin. I'm not saying it can't happen.
Yeah.
But that's not normal. It's not like a normal bruise.
Like any father would, Jason confronted Lindsay about these bruises, and what do you know? She had a story or an excuse, whatever you want to call it.
For each
injury. Yeah,
which that's kind of already a red flag. If she has a explanation for every little bruise that she had, because I think she even went into like not just those, you know?
Yeah. She went into other...
Every bruise that she had on her body, she was like, oh, yeah, that was from blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That kind of already is like a little bit of a red flag.
Mm-hmm. She said that she is basically just a wild child and always on the move, which we understand.
What 3-year-old is not always on the fucking move?
Right. And said that like she got most of the bruises while playing with the other children. Mm-hmm. But she specifically stated that a couple days prior, Hannah had fallen in her gravel driveway, and that's where the bruising on her chest and under her chin had come from.
Lindsay even stated that when this happened, whenever Hannah fell, she didn't even put her arms out to try to brace the impact, which I'm not going to really like speculate a lot about because I have seen kids do that where
you're like,
they're just so clumsy and they're not developed enough to understand that they can do that and they can't do it as quickly as like we would put our hands out immediately.
Yeah.
So that to me doesn't really stand out a whole lot. I can totally see Hannah falling and literally face smacking the gravel.
Yeah. Lindsay also stated that the day before, Hannah had fallen in Lindsay's garage after climbing on a toy train that rolled out from underneath her. Jason pretty much accepted her explanation and didn't question it much because he knows, again, kids can be kids, and she has kids of her own and she babysits another kid, and nothing out of the ordinary.
It didn't seem out of the ordinary because we don't know for certain how often Hannah would play with other kids. So maybe he accepted this because of the fact that she was around kids more than she used to, and so maybe there's just a little bit more bruising going on.
Yeah.
Than
Which
normal.
Could totally happen whenever you're around a lot of kids.
Yeah, definitely. It can.
I mean, he saw the way that Lindsay was with her own kids.
Yeah.
And then you have to keep in mind that his coworker was her husband. Right. So it's like already like a little close-knit relationship. That's the feel that I got from it.
Yeah, so he really didn't have to... didn't feel like there was anything...
He literally blew it off, and he was just like, I mean, kids will be kids.
The morning of March 8th, 2018 started off pretty normal for Jason and Hannah. As he was getting ready for work, Hannah ate a bowl of cereal, she brushed her teeth, and she got herself dressed because at 3 years old, she was starting to become independent. I remember that
we
stage
know how that is.
where like we weren't allowed to help her get her clothes on and stuff. It seemed pretty normal from the start. And at 6:52 a.m., Jason sent Lindsay a text saying that they were getting ready to head over there for the drop-off. Lindsay responded right back to Jason's text a minute later and said, okay. So for the most part, Jason said that everything seemed pretty normal with Hannah, although there was something a little bit different on this morning. Lindsay's house was literally right next door to Jason's house. It was only 300 feet away. So
it was like definitely within walking distance.
It was the next house. Yeah, it was within walking distance, but he would drive because right after drop-off, he would have to leave to go to work. So he would drive even though it was right next door. And this is not completely unnormal. Like I've done this with our kid, but usually on this drive from his house to her house, he would usually let Hannah sit in his lap and pretend like she was driving the car. She absolutely loved doing this, but on this particular morning, she didn't want to do this, and she just chose to lay down in the back seat. So this was already kind of showing Jason that something was a little weird because this never happened. She always wanted to sit on Daddy's lap and drive the car. So Jason arrives at Lindsay's house moments later, and he carries Hannah into Lindsay's house. He said that she seemed a little bit more clingy also this morning, and she kind of didn't want him to leave. Jason said, quote, that morning was a little bit different because she kept asking for a kiss over and over again, and that
is heartbreaking.
Breaks my heart.
And that morning was a little different because she kept asking for a kiss over and over and over again.
One final kiss, and Jason Wesche was off to work.
That breaks my heart because knowing what we know happens, it's almost like she knew.
It's almost like she's saying, like, please, like, don't leave me. Please don't leave me here with her.
It's sad. It makes me want to cry.
It is, I know.
It's very hard for me not to cry right now. A few moments after dropping Hannah off, around 7 a.m., Lindsay called Jason on his cell phone, and she said that something happened to Hannah and that he needed to come back. Jason turned around and he sped back to Lindsay's house to see what was going on.
She was kind of gasping for air. She wasn't really breathing. I kept telling her to breathe, and when I'd tell her to breathe, she'd take a breath and then let it out slow.
Lindsay placed a 911 call at 7:02 a.m. and she told the operator that Hannah had collapsed a few moments after being dropped off by her father.
I babysit kids, and he just dropped her off, and all of a sudden she just passed out. She felt pretty bad yesterday, and she's been fine, and then all of a sudden he dropped her off this morning, and she walked in, and she just kind of passed out, and she went limp.
Okay.
I don't know.
Are you with her now?
Yes, and so was her dad. I called her. Yes, hurry. She's bad. There's something wrong.
Okay. Is she awake right now?
Yes.
Okay. Is she breathing?
Yes, in and out.
Okay.
Yes, in and out. I don't know what's wrong. I cannot believe this is happening. She felt really bad yesterday when we were playing here in the garage. And she has a bruise on her face and on her chin, and I thought she was fine, and she was up and running yesterday.
I want you to stay right with her and make sure her head is carefully tilted back and check her breathing often.
So, breathe.
Breathe, baby.
Breathe. You're okay. You're okay.
Okay. Just make sure her head is tilted back. That will assure that her airway is open.
Okay, hey. It's okay. Breathe. Breathe.
Hannah.
Okay.
Hey, what's the matter?
Fucking shock or something.
I don't know what could be wrong with her.
I don't either. She was fine. Who just walked in the house?
She got up, brushed her teeth. I don't know. Oh, sorry. Hey.
Parkinson.
Hey. Look at Daddy. Hannah. Look up.
You're okay. I love you.
Hannah.
I love you, Buttercup.
Hey.
Hey, wake up. Here we go. Here we go.
Is she waking up now?
No.
No, she's still doing the same thing, but
Hannah. Hey. Hannah. There you go. Breathe. Breathe. There you go.
There we go, Buttercup.
Keep breathing.
Okay.
So as you heard, dispatch asked if Hannah was breathing, and Partin said, quote, "Yes, in and out. I don't know what is wrong." She also told the dispatcher that Hannah fell pretty bad the day before, but she seemed fine. She said after her father dropped her off that morning, Hannah walked in and she kind of just passed out and went limp. Jason arrives back at Lindsay's house, and you can actually hear both Lindsay and Jason in the background of this 911 call as they're attempting to get Hannah to respond to them. It's absolutely heartbreaking to hear the desperation in Jason's voice when it seems like he's not getting much of a response.
Yeah.
And you can like hear Hannah breathe, like
Her
struggling
gasping,
to breathe,
yeah.
gasping for air. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. You can also hear Lindsay trying to comfort Hannah and being extra sweet and saying that she loves her and that everything's going to be okay, which is absolutely sick.
Yeah. You
Because
are the one who put this kid in this situation.
Yeah, and knowing that Hannah didn't want her dad to leave tells us that something had been happening over at that house that at 3 years old she wasn't able to express to her dad.
Right.
Exactly what that was, because she didn't understand what that was.
Yeah, and she's so confused in that moment because she's thinking, why is this lady that hurt me, the same lady that's standing over me right now saying,
Telling me
it's
that she
okay,
loves me.
it's okay, sweetie, it's going to be okay.
It's just so sick and it's so heartbreaking.
It really is.
Hannah was rushed to a nearby hospital, and of course the questioning begins with Partin. Detectives asked her what happened, and she said, quote, "So we walked in, she was in front of me, and she went to go take off her jacket, and she just fell forward." Partin then told Hannah to get up.
Okay, that's a red flag right there.
What? I mean, when a kid falls, even if it's not your kid, it's a kid that you're taking care of, a kid in general.
Yeah.
If a kid falls, you don't just say, "Oh, get up." You're going to go check on that kid.
Yeah.
At the hospital, an ER physician, Dr. Newing, said that when Hannah arrived, she was unresponsive and unable to breathe on her own. He intubated Hannah and he placed her on a ventilator. Dr. Newing also noticed multiple bruises on Hannah's body and stated that her pupils were not reacting the way that they should. And he also noticed that there was a lot of blood behind her eyes. Dr. Newing ordered a CT scan, and she was also airlifted to Cincinnati Children's Hospital. A neurologist at the Children's Hospital looked over the CT scan and discovered that Hannah had a large subdural hemorrhage in her brain. The neurologist stated that the hemorrhage was not consistent with everyday accidents, but it was consistent with abusive head trauma, specifically stating that it looked like Hannah had been shaken.
How do you think her dad felt at that time?
I mean,
if it was me, I would feel like the biggest POS, which I'm not in any way saying that he is.
No, and like he shouldn't feel that way, but yeah, I would feel like that too.
Yeah.
I would, because it's like,
I trusted this woman with my child's life.
My job as her father is to protect her from evil people like this. And even though it's not his fault, he's obviously still going to blame himself. Emergency surgery was performed on Hannah, where surgeons actually removed a piece of her skull to drain this hemorrhage, all of this excessive blood that was accumulating in her brain. But the swelling did not stop, and it was actually swelling out of where this skull was removed. It was swelling out of that. So it was at that point that the detectives revealed Hannah's current condition to Lindsay. And this is when this interview began to kind of shift.
Hannah's not doing good. Whatever happened to her happened this morning. And she has a severe brain bleed.
Oh my God.
So what we need is the truth from you.
That is the truth.
We need to know how this happened. That way we can treat her.
I'm absolutely telling you the truth. Oh my God.
The way it's looking right now is that this happened at your house because we need to find out. We need the
I
truth.
swear to God, I'm telling you the exact truth. We walked in the house
From what the
and
doctor's
she
saying,
fell.
she did not walk, she did not talk with this type of injury. None of that is
She
possible.
did. I promise you she did.
And they're saying that's not possible.
I believe you're not being honest with us, and you need to come clean with it because you're going to be a part of this.
Detectives told Lindsay that whatever happened that morning to Hannah had left her with a very severe brain injury. Partin's response to this is she acted shocked, and she swore that all they did was walk into this house and Hannah just fell for absolutely no reason. Detectives told her to cut the bullshit and just give them the truth, because with this type of brain injury, there was absolutely no way that she could have just been walking around and talking. If she's claiming that this happened, or she's claiming that this might have happened from a fall that Hannah took the day before or the day before that, there's no way with this type of brain injury that she would have been able to survive until the next day, and then it just, conveniently happened. With this type of brain injury, she would have been showing signs immediately and been unconscious, like in minutes. So they were calling bullshit on everything she was saying. The
As they
timeline
should,
that she was giving them, they were like, just tell us what happened. So after Hannah's emergency surgery to try to drain this hemorrhage, she was placed in ICU on life support, where she showed no signs of improvement. She never regained consciousness, and doctors determined that Hannah was almost to the point of complete brain death. 10 days after she collapsed in Lindsay's house on March 18th, 2018, Hannah was removed from life support and she was pronounced dead. The cause of death was retinal hemorrhages, brain swelling, and inflicted trauma. Dr. Dorothy Dean performed an autopsy on Hannah's remains. Dr. Dean located multiple bruises on Hannah's head and body, including bruising on Hannah's back, on her right side head area, and on the sides of her body, and a bruise located in the deep muscle tissues on Hannah's neck. Dr. Dean, like many of the other doctors who examined her, also found extensive hemorrhaging in Hannah's eyes and a lot of brain swelling.
That's not going to happen.
From falling off of a fucking toy train car
Yes.
that rolled out from underneath
And
her.
falling on the gravel.
It's not happening. Dr. Dean believed that Hannah's death was caused by a traumatic brain injury due to a blunt, tremendous force that went through her brain. This was not caused by a simple fall, or even multiple simple falls.
Yeah.
And when I say blunt force went through her brain, a lot of people are going to think that that means like a blunt force object or blunt force trauma. But blunt force to the brain can also be seen from shaking, as whenever this is happening, your brain is shaking around, it's turning a little bit in the head, and it slams against the skull. And so essentially the skull is the blunt object that causes the damage to the brain. Detectives were grasping at anything that could make sense to them. They started to ask Partin if Jason ever showed signs of having a temper problem, if she had ever seen him hit Hannah or anything like that. She says, "No, I haven't, but I have not known him that long." They said, "Well, have you ever seen bruises on her?" She said, "Yeah, she has bruises on her all the time."
So
well,
that's
bitch,
her.
they're fucking coming from you.
Yeah, but that's her insinuating that, I mean, he's not a bad father, but I also don't know him that well.
Exactly.
Is Jason capable of this? Does he have a temper? Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen him hit the kids?
No, I haven't. But I have not known him long enough to know that, and I've never even been in his house.
Have you ever seen bruises on her?
Yeah, she's bruised all the time.
In Partin's second interview, she denies hurting the child, and she says, quote, "I will look you in the eye. I have never hurt a kid in my life. I wouldn't ever hurt my kids. I don't spank. I don't believe in spanking." End quote.
Okay, bitch, but you obviously believe in beating.
Partin said, "I'm just going to be honest. She fell straight on her chin. Her hands didn't even hit the floor." Partin said that all that happened was that Hannah asked her if she could have a donut and couch, and then she just suddenly took her jacket off and fell.
Okay.
That's her story, and she was sticking to it.
Well, that's bullshit.
Suddenly, she said that she left something out of her story. She said, "I slipped on her blanket when I opened the door, and we both went down. I was holding her on the left side, and when I slipped, she fell and hit her side. I actually hit my head on the door coming down also. She smacked her face really hard on the concrete step, and we both fell. So now she's like, fuck.
I have to come up with something.
Something. So that was her excuse was, yeah.
Well, but you know what? Fuck her for even thinking about inserting that part about herself. I actually hit.
Yeah, I hit my head too. Bitch, you're fucking 36. How old was she? 36?
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. Like, you should not be worried about yourself.
Her hitting her head is not going to be the same as a 3-year-old hitting their head. And it wasn't just hitting her head. So Lindsay said that she hid this information because she didn't want to be in trouble. As the interview went on, Partin revealed something else. This is when she told detectives that she slapped Hannah upside her head with her hand because she had taken all of the ketchup out and squirted it into the toilet. This bitch actually told the detectives that she didn't think it would hurt her.
Why is the punishment, though, for her squirting ketchup into the toilet?
To smack her upside the head.
Yeah.
How does this happen?
I slapped her upside the head.
With what?
My hand. She took all the ketchup out and squirted it into the toilet. And I didn't think that hurt her. I really didn't.
So these were closed fists, like uppercuts?
Yeah.
Okay.
She didn't want him to go to work. And he's like, I gotta go. So he rushed out, and I was like, Hannah, you can't do that. Daddy's gotta go to work.
You shook her?
Yeah. I shook her, and I remember picking her up and squeezing her, and we did fall.
How hard did you shake her?
She was in trouble.
Yeah. And you were angry?
Yeah.
This is all fucking bullshit anyway. That she's just trying to justify.
Yeah.
That it was not intentional.
Mm-hmm. Trial begins in April of 2019. And, of course, Partin's defense says that she did not cause Hannah's death and that she collapsed within a minute of being dropped off.
Mm-hmm. Well, she did, but she did collapse within a minute.
But you can do a lot of shit in a minute.
Well, yeah, and especially whenever the pathologist who performed the autopsy said that these effects from this injury would have happened within seconds.
Yeah. And then...
So, yeah, it only takes a fucking minute.
She would not be able to walk and talk. So, obviously, she was trying to insinuate that Jason had done something to Hannah. Mm-hmm. And she just had no idea what it was, but she just took care of her. She was trying to take care of her as soon as she walked in.
Yep.
It's absolutely evil, disgusting.
She thinks that she did the right thing by calling her dad immediately to come back.
But she fucking knows deep down.
She's sick. Mm-hmm. A sick, evil bitch is what she is.
Dr. Dorothy Dean, the pathologist who performed Hannah's autopsy, testified for the prosecution and argued that Hannah could not have been walking and talking for any amount of time with these injuries.
Yeah.
The neurological damage and symptoms would have taken place in seconds, and Hannah would have almost immediately lost consciousness.
Yeah. So her whole claim and her whole defense is that...
Yeah. But it's immediately thrown out. Like, fuck you, bitch. Everybody knows you're lying, and a doctor just fucking proved it.
Yeah. And this doctor did not go easy on this defense attorney. She let him have it on that stand. Like, because he was trying to insinuate so many things about trying to discredit everything she was saying, and she was not falling for that.
Now let's talk about when Partin took the stand.
Stupid bitch. You should never fucking do that, first of all.
Yeah. So, once again, she changed her story and said that she lied to the police when she told them that she caused harm to Hannah and said she did this to protect everyone.
Okay.
She said police coerced her into her confession and claimed that she felt pressured, bullied, and that they did not care what she had to say. Partin told the court that she just told them what they wanted to hear at the time.
Bullshit.
On the stand, I found this clip. I was just like, this gave me so much satisfaction for her to be asked these questions. She responded yes to all of these. Is it your belief that you could, number 1, physically discipline? Number 2, squeeze her middle? Number 3, hit her on the face with your open hand? And number 4, shake her. And she said yes to every fucking one of those.
You didn't Google how to make a bruise look better, how to make a bruise feel better. You Googled how to get rid of a bruise. Is that right?
Yes.
You indicated that it was your belief you could physically discipline Hannah.
Yes.
You could squeeze her middle.
Yes.
Was it your belief that you could hit her on the face with an open hand? Yes. And was it your belief that you could hit her on the chin with a closed fist? Yes. And was it your belief that you could shake her? Yes.
Obviously, it was a mistake for her to testify, and she dug herself into an even deeper hole than she was in to begin with.
Yep, she did. So the trial lasted 8 days, and the jury deliberated for 12 hours before finding Lindsay Partin guilty on all charges.
As to count 4 of the indictment, involuntary manslaughter, we, the duly impaneled jury, do find the defendant Lindsay Partin guilty, accompanied by all 12 signatures. As to count 5 of the indictment, endangering children, we, the duly impaneled jury, do find the defendant Lindsay Partin guilty. As to count 6 of the indictment, murder, we, the duly impaneled jury, do find the defendant Lindsay Partin guilty. All 12 signatures.
She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole.
I do sentence the defendant Lindsay Partin to a lifetime imprisonment with parole eligibility after 15 years.
Which is 2037. So the chances that this bitch is probably going to get out are pretty high. It should have been no parole. So, of course, she appealed this, as most guilty murderers do, but the 12th District Court of Appeals upheld their convictions, and the Ohio Supreme Court declined to even hear her case.
It should be life without parole.
It's something that's in my mind every single day. Time doesn't make anything easier. It makes it rougher. Try to go day by day. I was relieved that that part was over and she was convicted. I'm glad she went to prison, obviously. We hope that she does not make parole in 2037. I didn't see her testimony in court. I was not allowed in the courtroom at that time. It's bewildering. I don't understand how anybody could think that that's okay to do to a child.
So yes, that is the tragic case of Hannah Wesche. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning into this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode,
yes, then please subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a rating.
Yes,
we would
that would
very
help us
much
out a lot.
Yeah.
If y'all did enjoy it, to just leave us some kind of rating.
Mm-hmm. Give us
Hopefully
some feedback.
5 stars, but also if there's a story or a case you guys want to hear, there's a link in the show notes to submit your requests.
Yes, and don't forget to submit your events of the week.
Events of the week. Stay safe.
And stay weird.
Bye.
Bye.